Glad you could join us right on Luntha TV. It's time for a news bulletin coming to you live from Bishop Nervi Media Center in Area 2, Lilongwe. Today you're with Melinafe Perry, but first the headlines. Pope Francis preaches on the promotion of rights of indigenous people in Canada. Parliament passes the Corruption Practices Bill to help Anti-Corruption Bureau deal with corruption in the country. Concerned citizens against impunity secretly deliver petition in Lilongwe amid colleagues' abduction. Human Rights Watch in Morocco says Morocco is misusing trials to silence journalists. We do have details to these and other latest stories. Do stay tuned in. We begin with a story that Pope Francis has decried the historic deplorable system of residential schools in Canada, calling it a tragic example of cancel culture, and has called for promoting the legitimate rights of the native populations and to favor processes of healing and reconciliation between them and the non-Indigenous people of the country. The Holy Father made these strong remarks in his meeting with civil authorities, representatives of indigenous peoples and members of the diplomatic corps in Quebec City, marking his first public discourse since arriving in Quebec. We have a Vatican News report.
The Pope is making a penitential pilgrimage to Canada, which is dedicated to healing, embracing, and reconciling with Indigenous peoples who suffered mistreatment and abuse across the centuries as colonial powers, including many Christians, were involved in attempts to erase their culture and identity. This marks Pope Francis's 37th apostolic visit abroad. On the first leg of the Pope's pilgrimage in Edmonton, Pope Francis profusely apologized for the catastrophic errors of the past with the residential school system and called for an investigation to learn how to prevent such tragedies from ever occurring again. In the Pope's meeting with authorities and Indigenous on Wednesday in Quebec City, he thanked first Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Mary Simon, and then His Excellency Justin Trudeau for their kind words of welcome and spoke about the extraordinary natural heritage of the country and its vast beauty. Pope Francis recalled Canada's national symbol of the maple leaf as an occasion to observe that the large size of the maple leaves, which absorb polluted air and in turn give out oxygen, invite people to marvel at the beauty of creation and to appreciate the wholesome values present in the indigenous cultures.
State President of the Republic of Malawi, Dr. Lazarus Maikathi Chakwera, has urged Malawians to have patience and allow processes being put in place for economic recovery to take effect in due course. Speaking earlier today as he officially opened the 32nd Malawi International Trade Fair in Luntha, Chakwera likened Malawi economy to a sick person on a road to recovery, where symptoms of the illness cannot vanish all at once, despite medication being provided, advising Malawians to trust the process in place. Being held under the theme Achieving Business Resilience through Market Diversity, seeking to connect Malawian businesses, gain new markets, and supply chains, this year's trade show is being participated by about 200 local exhibitors and 20 international ones. Tandwem Zumara has details in this report.
The multi-sectoral exhibition, which brings local exhibitors on the same platform as international exhibitors, has returned after a 2-year break due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and it aims at enhancing domestic business as well as connecting Malawian businesses to international investors and markets. In his remarks, Malawi Confederation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry MCCCI President Lekani Kadandula underscored the importance of diversification amid interruption in supply chains, mainly due to the Ukraine and Russia conflict, as well as COVID-19, saying Malawi will end up getting deprived of opportunities due to existence of some bad laws that affect the business environment, especially in regards to lack of wider consultations by the government with the private sector.
Business resilience can nonetheless be gained from having alternative markets and sources of supply. As such, our message to the exhibitors is that diversification of markets and supply sources should be prioritized in order for them to withstand any future shocks that may interrupt the global supply chains.
Concurring with Kadandula, Minister of Trade Mark Katsonga Piri called on the local industry to up its game and increase value addition to compete with foreign products and reclaim the market. Katsonga made the remarks, noting that Malawi still remains a predominantly importing nation and the huge appetite for foreign products among the public has resulted in the local market being flooded with foreign products.
Among the many instruments, government, through my ministry, has revised the Control of Goods Act, KOGA in short, to be in tandem with the current business climate. The government is also implementing the National Export Strategy 2, which focuses on making Malawi a competitive, compliant, diversified, and sustainable sourcing destination for goods and services for the region and the global market.
Taking the stage, President Chakwera assured that his government realizes the importance of private-led economic development, and that is why his government is constantly in talks with industry captains on ways to change the status quo. He then disclosed government's plans in investing towards the energy sector to make energy products more affordable.
For now, Malawi's economy has been sick and bedridden for a long time. And I think those who have spoken before me testified the fact that they can make mention of certain things that instead of progressing have retrogressed. When I took office, the symptoms of our economy's chronic illness and multiple organ failure were everywhere. 4 million young people were unemployed and stampeding each other in a parking lot of any place offering a few jobs.
Meanwhile, 5 companies have been awarded at the International Trade Fair, which is expected to end on the 7th of August 2022. Reply Limited has been awarded as the best exporter, Lilongwe Dairy 2001 Limited as the best manufacturer, Bantu Arts as the best SME, Indian Pavilion as the best international exhibitor, and as the overall winner, Sidco has been awarded. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Tandiwe Nzumara.
Members of Parliament have passed the Corruption Practices Bill, which mandates Anti-Corruption Bureau Office ACB to prosecute any corruption case without seeking consent from the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP. According to Likoma Island legislator Shems Christopher Songwe, who moved the motion, the passing of the bill will help ACB to have more independence, a development that will move to expedite more corruption cases. He further indicated that the bill will help enhance the powers directed to the Anti-Corruption Bureau in dealing with corruption cases. Jacqueline Saidi reports.
Speaking on the passed bill, Songwe said that the passing of the bill will help ACB to work on outstanding cases which were stopped by the powers of the DPP. He applauded the House, saying looking at where Malawians stand in as far as corruption is concerned in the country, the passed bill, if assented, will help lead the country in the right direction to fight the malpractice.
As lawmakers, we have done a service to the nation, and the Malawians have made their point very clear in where they stand regarding the fight against corruption, a drive that the state president has been advancing. And my sentiments are Malawians have won today. All we have done is to enhance the efficiency so that the Anti-Corruption Bureau can progress with their prosecutions without any further delays. That subject to the assenting of the bill by His Excellency the State President, the Anti-Corruption Bureau now will no longer be required to apply for consent from the Directorate of Public Prosecutions.
On his part, Government Chief Whip Honorable Jacob Hara said that this is a good development of the House, looking at the fact that both the government and the opposition sides are in agreement to the passed bill. He further said the bill will help in a more comprehensive way to seal out all the loopholes for wrongdoers to walk freely, looking at the issue that the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions and ACB will be able to do their job diligently so that corruption may be dealt with in the country.
All sorts of ways to fight corruption in this country, but we have seen that I think there have been some gaps in the legislation. That is why the President has time and again called for a comprehensive approach to make sure that we cover all the loopholes to ensure that those people that deliberately find themselves on the wrong side of the law should not find ways to evade the arm of the law. So that is why I talked about the government intentions to bring a courts amendment bill. Among others, what it will be doing is coming up with a new court that will be addressing all financial crimes, and all these corrupt cases will be handled in that court.
The Corrupt Practices Bill is Bill number 2 of 2022. Once assented into law by the State President, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, the Anti-Corruption Bureau will have more independence and more authority to prosecute anyone suspected of corruption without seeking consent from the Director of Public Prosecutions. For Luntha Television News in Lilongwe, this is Jacqueline Saidi.
Ministers of Finance and Investment and the peer review panel in the Southern Africa Development Community Region SADC on Thursday convened an extraordinary summit in the capital of Lilongwe as the search for long-lasting solutions on the puzzling economic circumstances continues. The summit was chaired by Malawi Minister of Finance, who is also the chairperson of the SADC Summit for Ministers of Finance, Sosten Gwengwe. The summit was aimed at reviewing progress on implementation of financial mechanisms and harmonizing and strengthening of the financial sector in the region. Albert Katanda reports.
Speaking during the official closing ceremony, Gwengwe said the SADC region is facing numerous challenges at a time the countries have slim chances to overcome. The summit followed a 3-day meeting of senior government officials, which made recommendations on decisions that were proposed by the SADC Secretariat on how the region can strengthen the financial sector. Gwengwe, however, said the ministers have agreed to broaden ways of creating funds in the countries.
As the global economy struggles to recover from the worst hit crisis in a century, African economies face the twin challenges of reinvigorating the financial markets while strengthening market infrastructure through technological innovation and investment-enabling policies. The pandemic has reinforced the importance of deepening domestic and regional markets to hedge against foreign capital outflows and help the region achieve its full potential. As such, regional cooperation and integration will continue to be an important element in the SADC's path to recovery and prosperity.
SADC Executive Secretary, His Excellency Elias Magoti, said as a result of the Russian-Ukraine invasion, economy has dwindled in the region. Magoti said he is optimistic that the agendas discussed during the meeting, if taken into account, will yield impressive fruits.
While the region is still grappling with these challenges, then came COVID-19 in 2020. And now we are dealing with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. As a result of all these challenges, economic growth has been minimal during the past 10 years. Fiscal deficits have worsened and public debt has risen to unsustainable levels. eroding the policy space for a majority of member states, with divergence in a number of economic indicators, including incomes.
The meeting brought together all 16 finance ministers in the region and central bank governors, among others. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, I'm Helbert Katanda.
If you've just joined us, you're watching news on Luntha television. Let's take a look at the headlines once more. Pope Francis preaches on the promotion of rights of indigenous people in Canada. Parliament passes the Corruption Practices Bill to help Anti-Corruption Bureau deal with corruption in the country. Concerned citizens against impunity secretly deliver petition in Lilongwe amid colleagues' abduction. Human Rights Watch in Morocco says Morocco is misusing trials to silence journalists. Moving on, a group of concerned citizens who, together with Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiatives, CEDED, organized a protest against presidential impunity, have secretly delivered their petition through Lilongwe District Commissioner. This came amid concerns due to the abduction of their colleague Sylvester Namiwa, who was the lead organizer of the protest yesterday, by unknown people. It then took police officers to disperse a multitude of people that gathered at Lilongwe Community Center ground ready for that protest. Our reporter Bernard Manza was on the ground and now reports.
CEDED and some concerned citizens vowed to fight against presidential impunity so that the president should trim his powers to allow law enforcers to prosecute him if there is any crime allegations. Some districts such as Cholo, Zomba, Balaga, Mzuzu City, among others, also joined the nationwide demonstrations to, among others, force President Lazarus Chakwera to desist from selective justice for alleged corruption beneficiaries of Zunith Sata and devise policies to cushion measures to high cost of living. But situation was not the same in Lilongwe, where protesters who gathered at Lilongwe Community Center ground were shocked to see police firing tear gas canisters to disperse them after some leaders had secretly presented their petition at Lilongwe District Commissioner's office. One of the leaders, Wolves Kama, told us that they deliberately thought of delivering their petition amid their concerns of Namiwa's abduction, whom they claimed would love to be with them during the protests.
We decided not actually to go on street because we knew very well that people are very angry with that. So we just wanted actually to avoid some lives of other innocent people. That's why we have come silently to surrender our petition to the DC's office. If the president trims the powers that are mounted on his office, we are very much sure that corruption in this country will come to an end.
Lilongwe District Commissioner assured the group that he will deliver the petition to the concerned party. Meanwhile, President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera and some civil society groups such as Forum for National Development, FND, Human Rights Defenders Coalition, HRDC, and Pan-African Civic Educators Network, PACENET, among others, have all condemned the abduction and have called on law enforcement agencies to quickly investigate into the matter until Namiwa is restored. A number of civil society groups have vowed to keep on protesting if the Tonse-led administration will not quickly address some of the challenges that Malawians are facing. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, I am Bernard Mansa.
Cotton farmers in Balaka district have expressed concern over the high cost of cotton seeds, saying it might affect this year's production. The concern was raised during a quarterly district stakeholders panel meeting, which was held in the district on the 27th of July. According to the farmers, 500 grams of cotton seed is now at 15,000 Malawi kwacha, a threat that most farmers might not afford, as most of them are busy buying food in these hard times. Rashida Matandika reports from Balaka.
Presenting their quarterly reports at the district stakeholders panel meeting, cotton farmers said cotton farming is better now than the past years, as they are now using hybrid seed which does better and the price on the market is fair. However, the seed prices on the market have brought fears, as 500 grams is at 15,000 kwacha, yet most farmers are broke and busy trying to buy every day's meal, as most of the population in Balaka is already experiencing hunger due to climate challenges that took place in the last farming season. Chairperson for cotton farmers in the district, Daimex Funsani, then suggested that the Agriculture Office should link them to companies that might borrow the farmers' seed.
Makampani amene athamanga pa ground kuthandiza alimi athu ndi awiri okha ngati kwathu kuno Balaka kuno Afresian ndi Malawi cotton kutanthauza kuti pakhapovutanso kuti alimi onse angathandizidwe ndi mbewu imeneyoyo potengera kuti anthu ambiri akufuna kulima kwambiri kuti mbewu atonje kuchaka chino ndi tinaonabe kuti mapemphaso nyumba mmene tinalinda chief kuti mina ndikotheka alumikizanenso ndi makampani amene amatithandizachi kuti ngati utakhala kotheka kuti atingongoze mbewuyo atingongoze nthawi yabwino.
In response to the request, Balaka District Cotton Officer in the Office of Agriculture, Samson Chinkadze, said they will look into both possibilities, but was quick to encourage cotton companies to be selling seed to the farmers when they are buying the product.
It's possible, because I think that has been the trend over the years. Even last year, some farmers acquired loans from companies. The only challenge is this happens at least late in the season. So what we may do maybe is try to facilitate these farmer buyer linkages as early as possible, so that if there are issues of loan provision, they should be done in time. Otherwise, it's very possible. That's the trend over the years.
With the challenges of high fertilizer cost, the cash crop is one way of saving farmers from loss, as they can use the income in buying food. Chinkadze has also assured farmers that the market for cotton is readily available and companies are demanding high quantity of the product. The House has also recommended the formation of farmer clubs as encouraged by the Ministry of Agriculture, saying it is a plus to cotton farmers for coordination purposes. For Luntha TV in Balaka, this is Rashida Matantika reporting.
In other news, Human Rights Watch in Morocco have said that the country is imprisoning journalists after flawed trials on non-political charges in order to silence them. The New York-based group said two other most prominent cases are those of Omar Radi and Soleimani Rosen, both sentenced this year on sexual abuse charges to at least 5 years in jail. Another journalist, Taufik Bouachrin, was jailed in 2018 for 12 years accused of rape and people trafficking. All three have been critical of the authorities and have denied the charges against them. Meanwhile, Morocco has insisted that this is just a system and it is independent and that the cases had nothing to do with the journalists' work. And this item also brings us to the end of this edition of our news bulletin. But before we leave, a recap of the headlines.
Pope Francis preaches on the promotion of rights of indigenous people in Canada.